Are you considering moving to Luanda, Angola on an expat assignment and you're not sure what to expect? Then you're in the right place. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing our third video in our three-part series about living in Luanda, Angola as an expat. The first video in the series was all about the poverty in Angola, the food you can find, and the expat housing. And the second video, we talked about driving, safety, and Portuguese. So definitely, if you haven't watched those videos, you'll want to check those out after this one. I will link them down below in the description box. If you're considering moving to Luanda, Angola, there's not a lot of information out there, so you definitely want to check out all three of these videos. They are chock full of information. I personally have lived in Luanda, Angola for 3.5 years. So I am very intimately familiar with living there and what all that entails. So definitely watch all three videos and it should help you kind of know if you really are interested in moving to Luanda or not. So let's just jump straight into it with the travel. So the travel, if you are an American, is a little bit longer to and from Luanda. So when we lived there, there was a flight called the Houston Express, and it was a direct flight from Luanda and Houston. And that's because there were so many oil field workers that lived in Luanda. So there was a direct flight back and forth. I know they did away with the flight, but they might have brought it back. I'm not sure, so you might want to check into that. If you're European, there are lots of flight choices for you to choose from. They're typically an overnight flight. So you will leave Luanda at like 8, 9, 10 p.m. And arrive in your European destination early in the morning. So those flights are about 8 or 9 hours. And when I lived there, there were flights to several cities. So Frankfurt, Paris, Brussels, Madrid, of course, Lisbon. So there were lots of choices. And if you're European, you shouldn't have a hard time getting to and from your home and Angola. So as far as holiday destinations and getting in and out of Angola, there are lots to choose from. I think the most popular ones, if you have a week or a few days, is going to be going to Dubai. A lot of people, even Angolans, go to Dubai to actually do their shopping and just spend a couple days there relaxing. There were several, when we lived there, there were several direct flights, I think 3 times a week between Dubai and Luanda, and that flight is only about 6 hours. If you're interested in doing a safari when you live there, which I highly recommend, and I will be doing some videos on safaris because we did quite a few when we lived in Africa, and they definitely vary from location to location, what country you're in, and I want to give that information to you guys, so definitely hit that red subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when I do release those videos about safaris. But a popular destination is Nairobi for safaris. So from Luanda to Nairobi, it was a pretty short flight. I want to say 3.5 to 4 hours. And finally, the quickest and easiest place to get to from Luanda is going to be South Africa. And there's 2 places. It's either going to be Johannesburg or Joburg and Cape Town, and they're both pretty cool cities. There's a lot more flights to Joburg, so maybe even a daily flight, I'm not sure. And Johannesburg is a really great place to go to other countries from. So you might have a layover in Joburg overnight, but there's a really quick flight. It's less than 3 hours, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes, maybe 3 hours from Luanda to Joburg, and then from there you can get to basically any African country if you're going on a trip. You can get to India, Australia, really a lot of places from Johannesburg. So that's a really quick, easy flight. And then the other one is Cape Town. You guys, Cape Town is freaking amazing. It's such a great vacation destination. I cannot recommend it enough. If you do find yourself living in Luanda, Angola, you will probably go to Cape Town a few times. There's so much to do. I actually made a blog post and I'll probably make a video too, but I will at least link the blog post for now down below in the description box. Cape Town is so great. They have beaches, they have wildlife, there's wineries, the city is amazing. There's so much history and museums and culture. You cannot go wrong with Cape Town as a vacation destination, and that is less than 3 hours away from Luanda. So it's a great place to go and just kind of get that rest and recreation, get some yummy food, and get some sunshine before you return back to Luanda. So our next topic is stores in Luanda, Angola. And there are quite a few grocery store options if you're living in Luanda. So you have Candando, you have Food Lovers, Casa dos Frescos, Quero. There's lots of options. They all have really great food that you can buy, groceries, but they are quite expensive. So if you're planning on moving to Luanda, we'll talk about the cost of living later, but the groceries are very expensive. And especially if you're buying stuff that has been shipped in, specifically from South Africa or sometimes Brazil, those products are marked up even more. So just by you going to the expat grocery stores, even the Angolan products will be marked up, but the foreign products will be marked up even more so. So just be expecting to pay pretty high prices if you're shopping in those more higher end or expat friendly grocery stores. So kind of switching gears from grocery stores to, I guess, regular shopping, there was a really great shopping mall called Bella's Shopping, and it is located in Talatona or Luanda Sol. But Bella's Shopping had lots of great stores. They had clothing stores, they had home goods stores, they had stores that you could buy your internet, cell phone providers. So it was a good place to just kind of go and get everything done. They also had a really good food court, and they also had a movie theater, which was really cool. We watched tons of movies when we lived in Angola. I will definitely do another video on entertainment in Angola, so be sure to subscribe to get that video. But overall, Bella Shopping was a great place that you could get a lot of shopping, home needs, food, entertainment all in one, kind of like the malls back here in the US. Another great place that I got a lot of home goods from was called Kinda Home. And they are sort of the equivalent of IKEA if I had to kind of describe what they sell. It's a lot of home goods for much lower prices, and they had a restaurant on site. When I was there, the only one was all the way outside of the city, so it was pretty far, and I would make a 3 or 4 hour trip out of it, going there, shopping, eating, and then coming home. But I have looked on the internet, and I'll put a link down below to the store, but it looks like they've opened one in Nova Vida, which is kind of an up and coming neighborhood, very close to the city. So there's definitely an option if you're in the city as well. Check out Kinda Home. They have great products for your home and really good food too. I would eat there a lot whenever I went shopping. So it's a fun place to check out, very IKEA-like. And speaking of Nova Vida, that is a neighborhood that, again, I say is kind of up and coming. They have a lot of more upper class Angolans living in that neighborhood, and it is very close to where we live. So I would do a lot of my shopping there, like at ShopRite, which is a grocery store out of South Africa. And they also have a really good shopping mall there called Xiami Shopping. I didn't spend a ton of time there because they kind of opened up on the later, when we were starting to leave. So we just had like 6 or 8 months where that shopping plaza was open, and we were so used to Bella's shopping at that point that we just kind of stuck to Bella's. But Xiami definitely has some good options, and that is where the Pizza Hut is. So if you watch the first video in this series, I talked a little bit about Pizza Hut. Well, that's where it is, in Xiami Shopping in the Nova Vida neighborhood. There are also a lot of stores in downtown Luanda. I didn't live in downtown, so I didn't shop in downtown quite as much. There are tons of restaurants, which I talked about in the first video, and then there's lots of stores too. So lots of home goods, some really great stores for gifts or souvenirs that you can find there. And then electronics, there are some electronic stores. So you can basically find a lot of things living in Luanda, and I think the selection is probably going up with each year, or there's more available. But while you can find most things, the quality is kind of a different story. And that brings us to our next topic, which is access and cost of goods. As a Westerner, the cost of living in Angola is very high, and the cost of goods are constantly going up because of inflation. So if you're there with your company, the chances are that you're probably going to be earning a salary in your home country currency, which is more than likely more stable. So whether it's in British pounds or US dollars or euros, you will be able to use that stable currency to buy Kwanzaa. You'll have to, because you'll have to use Kwanzaa everywhere. And so as the inflation goes up, your money will be able to buy more Kwanzaa, but the price of goods are also going up. So I actually did an entire video about exchanging money while living overseas in Angola, exchanging our dollars for Kwanzaa, how we did it, where we did it, why we did it. some of the benefits and also some of the risks. So I will link that video below. So definitely check that out as well if you're considering moving to Angola. So one example of this was the restaurants in Angola. You would get a menu handed to you, and the prices either wouldn't be there or there would be like a little tiny sticker that had the price. They would replace those stickers every month or every couple weeks whenever the rate drastically changed. So they didn't want to be, I guess, tied down to a price and have to change out their menus all the time. It also happened in grocery stores. So there would be signage at the registers that would say, register price prevails. And at first it was in Portuguese and I didn't quite fully understand it. It didn't make sense. And then someone explained it to me. So you really just have to be careful when you're shopping at some of the grocery stores because the price on the shelf is not necessarily going to be the price that you pay at the register. So I just personally made it a habit when I went grocery shopping to carry more Kwanzaa with me than I thought I would need. Sometimes you would also see goods like almond milk. That wasn't very common, and whenever I did see it, I'd want to buy a couple of cartons and that would add to my cost. All right, the quality of goods in Angola is not that high, guys. I'm really sorry to say it, especially if I have any Angolan friends out there watching this video. Unfortunately, the things that you can buy in Angola, the quality is just not always there. One example I have are pillows, like a bed pillow you would sleep on. I had a friend that needed a pillow and we went pillow shopping and we could find pillows, but they were not very comfortable at all. I'm not sure what kind of stuffing they used, but it was not comfortable. And then they were extremely expensive. So you're paying a lot of money, at the time, maybe the equivalent of 90 US dollars for a pillow that's not even comfortable. So those are types of things you have to be aware of when you're living in Luanda, Angola. So for me, it was much more cost effective and made more sense for me to like vacuum seal a pillow in a Ziploc bag and put it in my suitcase and use that instead of having to rely on buying pillows or bed sheets in Luanda. So speaking of moving to Luanda and your suitcases, I suggest taking as many things that you can with you in your suitcase that bring you comfort. So if you have a favorite food that you can package and take in your suitcase, or your pillows or your bedding, anything, maybe a Kindle to read books on, anything that brings you comfort, you're really going to want to try and pack in your suitcase. I know that the airline will only give you 1 or 2 free luggages, but you can pay more for extra luggage, and I highly suggest you do. Once you get to Angola, it is very hard to find things, and again, the quality is low and the cost is very high. So if you take all that into account with the amount of things that you can fit in a suitcase or a large duffel bag, to me, it was really worth it to take several suitcases with just our favorite creature comforts, and it really made a big difference in feeling more comfortable living in Luanda. So in conclusion, should you move to Luanda, yes or no? Looking back on my time in Angola, I look back really fondly. I really loved being an expat in Angola. It was an amazing time, but my husband reminds me, and I know that I only look back fondly because I got through it. When I was in the trenches of day-to-day life living in Luanda, it was hard, like really hard, you guys. Living in Luanda is not a vacation, and if you're looking for a glamorous expat post like London or Singapore, Luanda is not that. Don't be fooled by photos you see on the internet of downtown or the Ilia. Living in Luanda is not glamorous and it's extremely challenging. There were really hard days for me living in Luanda. There were days when I would ask my driver to take me to a nearby park and I would get out and sit on the bench and cry during my lunch break just because things were so overwhelming and frustrating. There were days when I just wanted to move back home. There were days when I would go home and drink an entire bottle of South African Pinotage to not think about living in Luanda. There were days or weekends when I would not leave my house at all because I wanted to pretend I was back in the US and not have to go out. And there were some really awesome days and super highs. I met so many amazing people. I did so many amazing things. I ate great food. I met awesome people. I did great things at work, but there were definitely super hard days, and I just want you to be aware of that before deciding to move to Luanda. But through all of that, I persevered, and I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad that I stuck with it and stayed there for 3.5 years because it was 1000% worth it. But if you have watched these 3 videos and you're a little nervous or you're not quite sure if it's for you, or you're taking a step back, then that's probably a good idea. You probably need to do a little bit more research, and maybe really look inward and see if an assignment in Luanda, Angola is the best thing for you and your family. I know our company used to not send expats to Angola for their first assignment. And there's a reason for that after I moved there for my first assignment. I can see it's a very challenging location, and a lot of people want to start off in maybe the UK or Thailand first before they go to the more challenging location like Angola. So definitely do the work to kind of look inside of yourself and your family, and you want to know what's best for you guys before you make that decision. All right, guys, I hope this 3-part series has been super helpful and given you so much information about life in Luanda. I will have some more videos coming out about having a driver, what it's like. I will give more specific information about the work visas, not necessarily the documents required because it's always changing, but just the process and some general information or what to expect. I've got another video coming out about the weather in Angola, having pets in Angola, so definitely go below and hit that red subscribe button. That way, when I release those videos, you'll get notified and get the information you need. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.